And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of A Bookish Moment. I am your host today, Sarah Burr, and I am joined by my friend and fellow sister in crime, Cathi Stoler. Cathi, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Thank you for having me. Excuse me. I'm excited to be here as well.
It's going to be a great conversation. We're here to celebrate the release of your new book, Nick of Time, which is super exciting because this is very different than the books that I've read of yours before, where you have done amateur sleuth mystery. We're now doing international thriller. That's super exciting, super fast paced. So I can't wait to hear more about it. But before we dive in too much, I would just like to take a moment to greet all of our viewers who are joining us live this afternoon. Thank you for being here with us. If you have any questions for Cathi, feel free to pop them in the chat. And without further ado, Cathi, do you mind introducing yourself just briefly to folks who may not be familiar with you and your work?
Hi, I'm Cathi Stoler. I've written 3 series, the Laurel and Helen New York Mysteries, Nick of Time, and the Murder on the Rocks mysteries. So Nick of Time is a little bit different than the other 2. As Sarah said, it's more of a thriller and international in scope. And I've been doing this for a while, and I'm an Amazon bestselling author and the winner of a Derringer. So that's pretty much it.
Fabulous, fabulous. And to kick off our discussion about Nick of Time, I'm really excited to do something that we really haven't done before on our show, and that is share with our viewers a trailer to give you guys like a really nice overview of what Nick of Time is about before Cathi and I really dive in to discuss the ins and outs of the story. So without further ado, enjoy this little sneak peek of Nick of Time. Nick Donahue, a professional blackjack gambler, is in trouble, and it's not the game that's causing his problems. It's Marina Di Pietro, a beautiful woman in dire need of help. Going all in, Nick finds himself racing from Prague to Zurich to Monaco with breakneck speed, playing a whole new game with all the wrong people, including jewel thieves, a Swiss bank, and the New York mob, as he prepares to make the wager of a lifetime. He knows there's only one way to play: to win. Nick of Time, a Nick Donahue adventure by Cathi Stoler. Find this international thriller at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and Apple Books. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed that little sneak peek of Nick and Time, and you may have recognized the voice that was narrating the video. Cathi, I had a lot of fun with that.
She helped me put it together and did the voice and the music also. She's very good at doing this, in case you don't know that. She's done a lot of videos for us.
I had such fun making this one, and especially Cathi, where you always provide me with the copy for it. That's like the hardest part for me, is like figuring out like how to present what the book is about, because you know better than anybody what your characters are about and what your story is about. So let's dive in and talk about Nick of Time. How did Nick Donahue? Who is he? How did he come to be in your head? And how did this like international story unfold for you?
Well, I had been writing about female protagonists, and I decided it was time for a change. And I just thought, oh, I want to write about this guy, and I want him to be fun and exciting. And also the story, it starts in Prague, but the impetus is in Venice, where he's playing blackjack. And I remember playing blackjack there, and people do come and they bet over your shoulder on your hand. So it's a little bit different than playing here. And I thought, oh, this could be interesting. I could have this professional blackjack player. And he's warm and intelligent and very handsome and a little quirky. So I liked to kind of blend all of those thoughts together about him. And, you know, being a blackjack player, he gets to travel all over the world. And in this book, he stops in quite a few places, all of which we've been to except Monte Carlo. So it was fun to write about that too, to put him in these situations and these settings. where he could play blackjack and he could get in trouble and he could get out of trouble and all that kind of thing.
The setting aspect of it is so vivid, and so hearing that you've actually been to these places and are able to kind of pull your experiences from them, I think really heightens the intensity of the novel. Because I mean, you start out where he's just being tossed out of a van and he's
Mm-hmm.
like bound, gagged, tossed on the side of a road on a mountaintop. And it's like, wow, like what a way to begin a story and really put you in that scene. And where you'd mentioned like you'd been writing female protagonists, I'm curious about like the switch from, doing, with your Jude Delane Murder on the Rock series. Jude is the owner of a restaurant in New York City, and
Right.
she is an amateur sleuth, although she kind of has a good relationship with the police. So she, she uses those talents to solve crimes. How did the transition from, traditional mystery to international suspense thriller happen? Like, how did you make that decision that you wanted to pursue that particular genre?
I just thought it was time to change. Again, in all of the books, the setting is very important in the Jude
Mm-hmm.
Delane books as well. But I felt like it was time to do something different, maybe a little edgier. I don't consider those other books cozy, but I know that they're more traditional mysteries. And I wanted to sort of step out of that genre a little bit. And I thought, having a gambler who kind of fancies himself a little bit like James Bond, who
Mm-hmm.
I always see when I'm writing him, would make it more interesting, would make a very different departure from Jude to and Nick, or from Helen and Laurel to Nick. Pardon me, because they're those are much more traditional mysteries, and these are much more fast paced, much more intense. Characters are they're a little more intense as well.
I'm curious about the actual writing process for this, because did you find that it was much different than writing a mystery? Like, did you have a different outlining process, or was your research different? How did and I guess, I've only ever successfully really written mysteries before, because I have that kind of nuclear story of who's dead, why, and how. And then you build everything around it. So I'm curious what your experience was writing a thriller versus writing a mystery, or if it was just,
Well,
the same.
there's still a mystery within it. They have to solve. It's not like just solving a murder. Nick has to make good on some promise to a mafia guy
Mm-hmm.
that who he feels has been wronged by Nick. But I don't know how different it is. I don't outline, so I just think about. I walk around a lot and think about, well, what would happen now? What would happen then? And I really kind of wrote this in 3 parts, like it was 3 stories strung together,
Mm-hmm.
and with the same, he is the main character, and then other people join him along the way. So it's different because with Jude, it was, I don't know, outline those either, but with Jude, it was a little bit more linear. This was a little more, well, we're going to go here. And again, the settings are very important. They really add a lot of flavor in my mind to the story and how it's working.
I know that JC and I talk about this a lot, where the setting really becomes a character in itself.
Oh, yes.
And I definitely, you're just gripped from the moment that you begin in Prague, you bounce to Venice, then you're just like all over these locations, but you feel so immersed in them, and that's got to be fun as a writer to really bring those to life.
It is fun.
I always find that I feel like I struggle most with setting. Like, I love dialogue. I could just like write a whole book where people are talking back and forth. But for me, it's like I have to pull in the pieces to be like, oh, I got to show like where they are, and like how did we end up from the living room to like the store down the street and all of this stuff. But you craft your scene so organically, with the setting being so a part of it, that I wonder, like, do you have any tips or tricks, suggestions, workshops that you have done that have helped you really craft the art of writing about the setting?
I think for the setting, if it's possible, like I live in New York City, so of course I can go anywhere here, just walk around, know the setting. And if you have a chance to do that in other places that you're writing about and they're not imaginary towns, well, even if they are, you can like sort of make a map in your head and know this is here and that's there, and these people are going to go here, and my protagonist is off there. I think it just really helps to get a good grip about where things are and who the people are, especially since I like to travel, and I just really kind of store that away somehow and really work it in. I agree. It is like a character in all of my books. The setting is like a character, especially this one seems more so because it is faster paced and he does move around from place to place. In the sequel, it starts in Dubai. It starts in New York, and then they go to Dubai, and then they go to Kentucky. So it's not as many places, but it's very interesting because there's that horse racing and weapons of mass destruction and finding these, killers. So it's just really great to have that background, I think, where you can interweave the setting with the characters and the dialogue. I like writing dialogue too, but I think the setting has to be very important as well.
And with keywords like weapons of mass destruction and Dubai and horse racing, is like, wow, like the action is nonstop. And
no, this is a novella. The other book is a novel. And so it's, there's more time to develop it. But I liked writing a novella. I may write another one. I'm going to write one more Nick book after this. After Out of Time is the second one. So I'm going to write one more after that. I'm not sure how long that one's going to be.
I love a good novella.
How long is the novella?
Oh no, I love a good novella.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because there's a lot you can convey
quickly. Yeah.
And so I also like your comment about book maps. I'm a big fan of book maps, and you can do that. That's a great way to really build out your world.
You've made up towns for your books, so you know what I'm talking about. How to do that. Here I go out the door and I say, okay, so they're walking up First Avenue. They're not walking. The cars are not going down First Avenue. They're going up. Things like that. When you're in a place, you get to know how the city looks and how people look and how they behave when they're on the street. So I'm also writing a thriller about not a professional, and a woman who's an eavesdropper and hears something she really shouldn't hear.
Ooh.
And that's all taking place in New York. So it's a lot of New York City settings.
I always find folks that write about real settings to be extremely brave, for exactly the reason you just mentioned, where it's like they're going up, not down. Because if you are writing about a real place and you make a mistake like that, you're going to have readers that are like, that's not how it operates here.
They don't know what they're talking about.
That's why I'm like, I like to stick to my imaginary places because it's easier for me to bend the rules that way. So I very much admire when we're put in real places.
And you can make your imaginary places however you want them to be.
Exactly. So. And it sounds like some of our folks who have joined us for the live show, we're very much impressed and intrigued by the trailer. So hopefully, folks, you'll get a chance to check out Nick of Time. However, we will have one lucky viewer today who will be able to win an ebook copy of Nick of Time. Cathi, would you like to share what the magic word is for folks to type into YouTube so that they can enter into our giveaway for today?
It's Nick of Time.
Very straightforward.
Very
Nick
simple.
of Time. And it's Nick spelled with as the name Nick.
Yes, Nick. Yeah.
So for anybody that needs clarification. And so folks, feel free, the giveaway is open right now, to type in Nick of Time into the YouTube chat. Make sure you are logged into either your Google or YouTube account so that we can grab your entry and share our winner at the end of the show. So Cathi, while folks are entering in that information, you recently did a blog post for Kings River Life magazine. We actually had Lori Ham on the show a couple weeks ago, talking about Kings River Life and the work that they do there. And so I'm curious if you could just tell us a little bit about the piece, because you mentioned a movie, and I love movies, and I want to hear all about it.
Okay, so like any other author, I would love my book to be a movie. And, I think about Nick and who he is and who he looks like and how he behaves. He's really kind, and he's intelligent, and he's smart, and he's quirky and a little naive. But, he gets the job done. So I was thinking now, who would be good for this? So I thought that for Nick, Tom Hiddleston would be a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to meet him anyway, so why not have him in the movie? And I could see him, in his black tuxedo and with his red bow tie and going all around. And I thought Gal Gadot would be good as Marina DiPietro, who she's Nick's love interest, and she's the one who sort of snookers him into helping her in the book.
She tricks him for sure.
For sure, right? But she doesn't leave him floundering.
Mm.
And she's tall and sultry, and I thought she would be great. And I was thinking that Chris Platt could be his younger brother Alex, who's a Swiss banker, who also gets in lots of trouble. And Kevin Costner, I thought maybe could be Tommy B. Boninaio, who's the mafia don that Nick has to placate at the end of the story. Even though it's no fault of his own that this man lost all this money. But he's the one who has to make good. He has to play a winner-take-all baccarat game. So that's my sort of casting ideas. There are some alternates, like Stephen Baldwin could be Tommy B, or Chris Pine could be Alex Donahue. I don't have anybody else Elizabeth Debicki. She could be.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, she's so tall though. She's just so tall.
Well, I love that the imagery that you elicit by sharing those characters with us, because I'm a big fan of at least like using on social media, like using images of people, whether they be real life or what have you, or just like stock photography, just to give people like a sense of who our characters are. Mm-hmm. I know sometimes that it can be a little dicey to be like, this is who the character is. And then you get people that are like, that's not how I pictured them, and all of this stuff. But I think it's nice to like have like that grounding influence, so that, if you're just coming to the series for the first time, you can kind of dive in and really have these pictures established. And that must have been fun to write. That's such a great idea for a blog post.
It is. It was fun. And if any of your listeners read the book and they have ideas,
yes, like share. Make sure on our. You can come back to the show. You can come back to either our Facebook or our Instagram page and let us know who you think the characters of Nick of Time should be cast as.
Same as if you know any producers. Please share.
Pass it along for sure.
Pass it along.
So you mentioned, Cathi, that this novella kind of kicks things off for Nick. Yes. What can we expect to have happen in Out of Time, which is the second adventure in the series?
Well, in that book, an Arab horseman from Dubai who knows Nick's dad, who's a financier, comes to Nick. Actually, he comes to Marina, but Nick goes along for the ride, literally in this case. And he wants him to help find out who's threatening his horses. He wants Marina to find out because they're threatening to kill all his Arabians. So it kind of snowballs from there, because he's been working on a secret weapon, and the terrorists want this weapon. And if they get their hands on it, it's could be a very bad thing. So they go off to Dubai, and then they go to Kentucky where the horses are training for the Derby, and the sort of denouement takes place at the Derby at the very end. But I don't want to tell any more about that because it'll be a spoiler.
No
But
spoilers.
there's a lot of adventures along the way, and Nick has to learn a whole new game. He has to learn about horse racing.
Now, how did horse racing become the game that you wanted to focus on?
Well, I was in Dubai and looking around. They do have racing there, but there's no betting. And it was just like something to get him more involved in other than the blackjack, and Marina. She's a detective. She worked for MI6 and now she's working on her own. And he sees himself as her partner in this business, although he is not really a partner. I mean, he helps her.
Does she see him as a partner?
She doesn't exactly see him as a partner. So the person who approaches them knows about her and knows Nick's dad. So his name is Adnan, Haddad, and it kind of snowballs from there. I thought horse racing would be an interesting thing to get.
I love it because it's such a different scale than blackjack. And I just bet like the scenes, the intrigue, it just sounds, I mean, it really does sound like an incredible movie. So,
yes,
and I'm sure it'll be an incredible book.
I'd be happy if they were both movies. And the third one, which is going to be about art theft, which is another thing that I'm interested in. Because
your latest Jude Delane book deals with diamonds, art-ish kind of thing.
It deals with diamonds. One of my other series, the Helen and Laurel series, one of them deals with art theft.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you get into being intrigued by art theft, and like what kind of research are you going to a lot of museums?
Yes, I go to a lot of museums, but I also created a painting for that book.
Oh, wow.
For the first series, Keeping Secrets. And it was stolen Nazi art. So I was kind of intrigued with that. And now, of course, it's all the reparations that are happening. And the art world is, they're going crazy. They're spending so much money on paintings and different kinds of, they're returning things to people who own them previously. Mm-hmm. So it's a good, I think it's a good way to use some of that information too. The new book is not going to be made up paintings like the one I made up, which was stolen by the Nazis from a Jewish family, and returned at the end of the story, but with a lot of things going on in between. So it's going to be fun to write that one too, I think.
It sounds your writing just sounds so exciting. It must be like I know that the process of writing, people often think,
as we sit here like this,
we're just like, like trying to get this sentence through, but it sounds like it's a lot of fun, and that you have like these really, do you find that like you're able to like dive in and just like keep going along, or do you find that you get stuck often and have to figure out like, okay, this isn't working, I need to go in this direction? What does the process look like?
I don't really feel like I get stuck, but I do stop and think about what should come next. I like try and visualize the scenes. I'm sure a lot of writers, most writers do that. They'll visualize what's going to happen next and who's going to be in the scene and where it's going to take place. And what would be the next, like, logical, even if it seems illogical when you're writing it, what would be the next logical thing to happen? So it's, I'm not stuck. I like, as I said before, I like to walk around and think about what I'm going to do next. And then I make little notes. I don't plot, but at the end of my manuscript, it's funny, someone saw that I posted that someplace and they said, oh, they do the same thing, but they put it on a separate piece of paper. But when I'm writing something and if something occurs to me, I'll go to the bottom of the manuscript and type it in there so I don't forget it. I have it and I'm not sure where I'm going to use it exactly, but I have that thought. And if I didn't do that, it would be gone.
I have done this very same thing, and my downfall is that when I put it down there, and the list just keeps getting longer, I'll be looking at my manuscript and be like, wow, like I've written so many words today,
Yes.
and then I realize like, oh wait, like a significant portion of those are just like notes that I've made.
Right. I have to. I erase them after I use them
Mhm.
because otherwise it does seem like you have like, oh, I have an extra 1,000 words
Yeah,
here.
I get to the end, it's like, oh man, like this book is like coming in right at where it should be. And like, whoops, I'm actually, 5,000 words short. Ugh. I love hearing about all the different processes that folks use because and JC says this all the time, where there is no one right way to write a book.
Uh-huh.
And so being exposed and hearing about all of the great stuff that folks are doing is, again, like really helpful for anyone who may be watching. It's helpful for me as a writer as I'm figuring out like what the heck am I doing. So very much appreciate the insight into your work. And I said that this show was going to go by quickly. We've only got 4 minutes left of our bookish moment together, Cathi. So would you mind just sharing kind of what's next for you with our viewers? Are you going to be at any conferences? Do you have any panels? Any events that folks can find you on either virtually or in person, and where they can find you?
I am not going to PatrickCon. I had decided not to go, but I am going to be at the University Book Club in Washington, D.C. on November 15th. It's the one day a year they open the club to everybody because it's a members only club, and they're doing a book program. I did it once before, and it's a lot of fun. So if anyone lives in that area, they're welcome to come. It's a beautiful old building, and there'll be all kinds of book people there, and they get everything ready for you. I will be doing that. I'll be going to Malice next year, and I'm probably going to go to Left Coast Crime next year.
That is going to be in Seattle, isn't it? I really want to go to Seattle. So
yeah, I want to write a short story that's for that. That's happening in Seattle. They put out a notice for that.
You're also
there.
You've done some short stories, and we didn't really get to talk about those. And I always love talking about short stories because they're just like the perfect slice of entertainment that folks, you can consume either if you're, commuting into work or what have you. So we'll have to have you back on the show so we can talk more about what's going on. And again, Nick of Time is available now. Do we have a date as to when we can expect Out of Time coming?
It should be out next February, but I'm not sure.
And is it all written? Are you still working on it?
Yeah, it's all written, but I'm going over it because these are reissues. I did these a long time ago, and now this is new. This one was Nick of Time. I changed a little bit, but not that much. Out of Time, I'm going to change a little bit also. But it's pretty ready. I have to work on it.
It's nice to be able to kind of revisit things, I think, and get like another approach, because I did that with my Follow Me for Murder book, and getting to go back and revisit it and kind of have that second chance is like really fun and exciting because you can explore a little bit more. So wonderful.
And
so
I'm
we'll
working on a thriller as well, the one I mentioned before about the eavesdropper.
Yes, so more wonderful things in store for fans of Cathi Stoler. Make sure that you head to her website, cathystoler.com, to sign up to stay connected, so that you can keep in touch. And without further ado, we have our giveaway winner for this afternoon. Our winner for an ebook copy of Nick and Time can email me your email address, and I will forward that on to Cathi. And our winner today is our user Gigi Bruno. Gigi, congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us today. We very much appreciate it. And congratulations on your win. Cathi, congratulations to you on your release, and thank you so much for being here and spending a moment with us.
Having me.
It's always great to chat with you. And I had mentioned earlier that Cathi and I both know each other through our Sisters in Crime organization here in New York, which, plug for Sisters in Crime, it's a fabulous organization, connects you with amazing authors. Can't recommend it enough, because you get to meet wonderful people like Cathi. And so make sure that you, if you are a writer looking for a group, Sisters in Crime is a great place to
It's
start.
really, really helpful. It's helped me a lot
Yeah,
since I
it's
joined. So if you're thinking about it, it would be good to look into it. There's chapters everywhere.
it's
We're in
such a great community.
but there's plenty of chapters. So
Perfect.
yes,
Well,
good community.
Cathi, thank you again for being
Thank you
here.
so much.
Can't wait to chat more and see what becomes of Nick in his next adventure. And until
You
we
can
chat,
watch him in the movie.
yes.
Yes.
Tom Hiddleston, great casting. And for our viewers who joined us live, thanks again for being here. We have our season finale of the Bookish Hour tomorrow night. I hope that you can join us. We're joined by Leslie Budowitz. It's going to be a fabulous, fun
good.
show. But don't worry, we have more bookish moments coming throughout the summer. So you'll never be without bookish things for long. So again, thanks for being here, everybody. And we will see you during our next show. Stay bookish. Thanks, everybody.
All right.